Elliott Connie with us, the author of Solution Building in Couples Therapy. Mr. Connie, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. And we're going to talk about 5 simple habits that will bring out the best in our relationship. That's an awesome task.
Yes, it is, but it's a simple task.
Okay, how do we get started with that?
Well, simple doesn't always mean easy. Simple just means, not complicated. Simple means doesn't require a lot of steps. And in my work as a marriage counselor, one of the things that I noticed in working with so many relationships over the years is people have extremely complicated problems with layer after layer after layer of stuff kind of contributing to it. But the solutions to these problems are so basic and so simple, and they have such powerful, long-lasting, immediate impact in their lives that I wanted to write a book to talk about it, and that was really the birth of the Solution-Focused Marriage, 5 Simple Habits that will bring out the best in your relationship.
That's such a worthy cause, because we're looking at the divorce rate, which is so high. So you're holding out hope in your book, basically showing through your steps that all is not lost if we're willing to put in the effort. What is one of the first things we need to do if we want to resurrect, if you will, a relationship?
Well, one of the first things, I'll say something before I even talk about those 5 habits. One of the first things we have to do is understand that a relationship is just like anything else in life that we want to improve. So if I want to improve my physique, I have to go to the gym. I have to have daily habits that are going to result in my physique changing in a positive way. I'm not going to get a six-pack sitting on my couch. I'm going to get a six-pack going to the gym and doing exercises that lead towards a slimmer midsection. And a relationship is the same. I have to have habits in place that are going to lead towards the successful development of my relationship. And this book is just 5 of those habits that are going to lead to the successful implementation of a positive relationship.
And I want people to know, just because you call them 5 simple habits does not mean they have no consequence. They are awesome. I'm very proud of you for having given us this book, sir. Oh,
thank you. No problem. I mean, simple doesn't mean powerful. I mean, there was a line in a movie, called Men in Black, that humans have this thought that just because something's small, we seem to think it's insignificant. But sometimes the smallest things are the most significant things. I remember being in church and hearing a sermon about having faith of a mustard seed, and people who can see a mustard seed, that's probably the most smallest, insignificant thing, but having faith even of that size is profound and has a huge ability to change people's lives. And these habits, I'm not going to say anything groundbreaking, but they will have groundbreaking results.
If we get started with them, just do it. Mikey told us, just do it. So if someone's having a problem in their relationship, and many people think, oh, my partner is the real problem, where's a good place for them to start?
Well, I mean, people always think that the problem is not the problem. I mean, people always think, my partner is the issue, or we spend so much time talking about the problem, but that's kind of what I mean by the problem is complicated and almost unsolvable. When people think that their partner is the problem, we have to understand in what ways are we interacting with that partner's problem. And we have to stop interacting with that partner's problem and bring out the very best in our partner. And once we do that, the relationship is profoundly changed.
That's a good goal. Instead of trying to say, my partner has a problem, we can turn around and say, how can I help my partner?
Yes.
That's powerful.
What am I accidentally doing to interact with my partner's problem? And what could I do to start interacting with my partner's success? And once I start doing that, my partner has no choice but to improve.
Wonderful. Because he's like all of us. We like encouragement. We like support. we like to hear positive things about ourselves. So it makes you want to do more. So what do you suggest is one of the first things, Mr. Connie, that couples should do?
One of the first things in the book, one of the first habits that I identify in the book is couples should have a goal for their relationship. Couples should be on the same page about what type of relationship we are creating, what we are building, what we want to be a part of, what we want our relationship to look like. Now, a goal is nothing more than a dream, than an envisionment of how we want tomorrow. And it doesn't matter whether you're a couple just getting started in your early 20s or if you've been together for 30 years and you're now in your mid-50s. We all have an envisionment for tomorrow, and we have to have a habit and an ability to keep having conversations about what we would like that tomorrow to look like.
Wonderful. And it's important, I think you were saying, to have the couples develop this picture together?
Yes, we have to be able to co-create this picture. It's not something that one person is manipulating the other person to do. It is literally something that we're co-creating so that I can honor your wishes into my future and you can honor mine. And one of the things that it does is it makes sure that the assumptions we make about each other stay in line. For example, if my wife and I have had conversations and we both know that we want to retire early, when my wife finds out that I'm interested in setting up a retirement bank account, she's not going to think that I'm selfishly storing money away. She's going to assume that I'm working towards the goal that we have had conversations about. And it shocks me how many couples don't have conversations about the tomorrows that they're trying to create. One of my favorite quotes is, I spend all of my time thinking about tomorrow because that's where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. But how many couples spend all of their conversation talking about yesterday? We need to talk about tomorrow. We need to envision tomorrow. We need to co-create tomorrow with the details that validate both partners' contributions.
And we need to, as you say, plan for tomorrow and stay in today, because that sentence you said about talking about the past, that is so common. One of our guests just had a statistic. They had done a study, and 70% of over 2,500 people that they interviewed admitted that they spent a great deal of their time reminiscing about the past and also the future. But that's a lot of time that they're not in the present.
That's true. But I also think we should have conversation about the future because that's where dreams happen. We should dream. We should envision. We should plan. We should be on the same page about what we're trying to create. The future is beautiful because that's where hope is. If I don't have an envisionment for the future, then I can't have hope.
And it's not just the future. I think, like you said, you're not reinventing the wheel on a lot of these things, and communication is always key. And if it's not just a conversation about the future, it's a conversation about goals. And the bank account, of course, is something that should be part of the conversation between a couple, certainly. And we're going to pursue this further in just a few moments after a quick break here. We'll be right back with Elliott Connie. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the new Positive Impact Now show. Hi, welcome back to the new Positive Impact Now show with Judge Angel and myself, co-host Mike Faust, broker salesperson at First Choice Business Brokers. We're having a conversation this afternoon with Elliott Connie, author of Solution Focused Marriage. And Elliott, we wanted to continue with some other of these communication patterns that cause some of the problems that we're running into.
In real estate, we say location, location, location. And in relationships, we have to say communication, communication, communication.
I would agree. I would have to agree, I think.
Okay, Elliott, you said problems make us talk and happiness does not. Let's talk about some ways to be effective in communication.
Well, problems have a way of forcing us to talk. Almost everybody, if you came home and your partner said, hey, sit down, we need to talk, we're immediately going to think that some negative content is going to come out, because problems have a way of making us know that we need to sit down and talk. And happiness doesn't. In fact, Happiness encourages us not to talk because we're afraid if we bring it up, we might rock the happiness boat. And I think that we need to talk about happiness. I need to be able to go home and say to my partner, hey, we need to talk. Here are the things you're doing that are very much in line with the type of relationship I want to be participating in, and this is why I'm still falling in love with you, even though we've been married for 8 years.
Very nice.
One of the things that I remember reading in another book on relationships was, and I remember the quote very clearly, it says, we need to talk, and the author's response was, well, no, you really don't. That some things, it's better to just kind of let it go. Do you agree with that at all, or do you think it's always best if there's a point of contention or an elephant in the room? Is it always best to try to hash it out and grind through it and come to some kind of agreement, or to agree to disagree? Is it always best to really sort of hash it out?
No, yes. I think it's always best to talk. I would not agree at all that some things we need to let go, because I don't know that as human beings we're good at knowing what's the stuff we need to let go and what's the stuff that's so important we need to get off our chest. I think what we do need to do is have the understanding that since problems make us talk, we are going to have to sit down and talk about bills and stupid things the kids did and little nagging things that popped up in a relationship. We know we're going to have those conversations. We have to balance off the scale by having the opposite conversation, which is, I'm really happy with the way things are going. So when we do have a problem talk, it doesn't seem to be overarching. It doesn't seem to have such a negative impact on the way we communicate, because it doesn't seem like that's all we do.
Because it doesn't seem like you've formed a habit at this point.
Absolutely, that's right. If the scale is nice and balanced, when problem talk comes up, it's just problem talk instead of the continuation of some sort of negative pattern.
Right.
That is so profound, Elliott. I love it. I love it. You're saying talk about the good times. Talk about the good things.
I'm saying absolutely talk about the good things, because that's the magic. That's the miracle data. That's the content that's going to teach you how to build a happy relationship. And for some reason, we're not wired to naturally talk about that stuff.
I wonder about that. Is it that we were told not to be braggadocious, not to talk about yourself,
right.
All those things. But your idea is very simple, but very, very powerful. What are some of the productive ways we should communicate with our partner?
Well, that takes me to the second habit that I was talking about in our book, which is we should take credit and be aware of the honeymoon phase of our relationship. So that early stage of the relationship when you just couldn't get enough of your partner, that relationship wasn't happy because, karma shot you or because, Cupid swept into your life. That relationship was euphoric, positive, and happy because you had positive assets in your personhood that mixed with the positive assets in another person's personhood, and the attitudes and behaviors that came from that led to the building of a beautiful relationship. So we have to take credit for the talent that led to that relationship and have conversations about it. We should say, here's what's right about you that mixed with what's right about me to build this relationship. I'm a big believer in quotes. Like I've been collecting quotes since I was a teenager, and one of my favorite people to quote is Maya Angelou. And one of Maya Angelou's quotes is, when we know better, we do better. So if I'm more aware of my talent and my attributes and the things about me that you're attracted to, then I'm more likely to use them. So we should take credit and give credit for the successful implementation of our relationship. So when the water gets a little bit rocky, we know what talent to fall down upon to get through these rocky times.
Very good. And you also tell us we should talk about the story of how we met. How does that help?
Because that's where the data is. People, whenever I ask a couple, and most of the couples that come into my office, I will ask them how they met. They always tell me where they met. So if I say, how did you meet? They'll say, oh, we met in college. But I want to know, the romantic relationship is so profound to me because it's one of the closest relationships in your life where there was once a moment you had no idea that this person even lived, and now you can't imagine living without them. So how did that happen? How did you go from, I didn't even know you were alive, to I don't want to take another breath without knowing you? And when we start having that conversation, then the very data we need to get through problems starts becoming more awakened for us, more into our consciousness, more into our ability to use, more into our ability to draw upon, and we can get through whatever problem is thrown at us.
Well, that's great. So when you have couples talk about how they met, you really want to know the interaction of the behavior?
Yes, yeah. I want to know the interaction of the behavior. I want to know, what did you notice about that other person? How did you let that other person know that you were also interested? You can't tell that story without falling a little bit more in love with that person right in front of me, and I like that.
Well, Elliott, I want to ask you, you're mentioning that you're meeting with couples. I mean, are you meeting with these couples professionally, doing counseling, or are these personal people that you have met or run into? Are you meeting them socially, or is this a professional counseling service that you do?
No. This is a professional counseling service that I do. I am a licensed professional counselor that specializes in working with couples in my private practice here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas.
Excellent. You know, I know they used to refer to something called a 7-year itch. And yeah. I remember reading something now that the 7-year itch is now like a 2-year scratch or something, that the time period has really shortened up. Are you seeing that in your practice, where you're seeing shorter people having issues after shorter periods of time in their relationship, or is the vast majority of your practice people that have been together many, many years and they're trying to resolve some of these long-standing issues, or what do you think?
I think that the problems that lead people into my office are global. I mean, there are people who've been together for just a short, brief amount of months to people who've been together for 50-plus years. Holding a relationship together in 2013 is probably harder than it has ever been in human history, because we are so easily distracted today. I was talking to one of my nephews about this not too long ago, that I can remember, even in my short lifetime, I'm 37 years old, I can remember this really odd thing, right, called boredom. I used to come home from school, and if President Reagan was giving an address to the country, then 6 of the 7 channels we had were occupied, and there was nothing for me to do but interact with my family. Well, now there's so many distractors to building successful relationships in our lives, be they romantic or familial, that it is very difficult to keep a relationship in place, and we have to get back to building these habits so that we can withstand all of this stuff and not experience these problems.
Well, that's wonderful. And one of the things that you've told us is that we need to, as a couple and a family, sit down and define some goals that we want to attain together. How are we going to get there? Also, you tell us that we have to look at our communication style. Are we saying things that are positive, uplifting, to help the person feel better and thus do better, as opposed to the critical stage, the critical path? Everyone knows what that is. It's so prevalent. But to turn it around and really have that style where it's, you did good, that was good, that's powerful. It's not in use. Bring it in use. You and positive impact now. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, Elliott, and we're going to come back and talk about some of the other habits that can improve your relationship. Elliott Connie, author of Solutions to a Couple's, wait a minute, let me get that right, The Solution-Focused Marriage. And it's about not dwelling on problems, but to dwell on the strengths, the positive things that are being done, with the hope that with some positive support and input, these positive habits, the good things, will increase in frequency. That's really what we're talking about. And so, Elliott, with this, are you saying that on a regular basis we should get together with our partner and have conversations about what we notice is wonderful in the relationship?
Absolutely, yes. And I don't just mean praise and pats on the back and some of that stuff. I mean just having conversations about progress and giving credit to each other's contribution to that progress. It's just so much more powerful than criticism. And when we do this, I think you hit the nail on the head when we were coming back from the break. Whatever we pay more attention to grows. So if I accidentally start criticizing my partner, then they're accidentally going to start paying more attention to their flaws, and those flaws are going to accidentally grow, which is the very thing I don't want to have happen. I would rather praise and talk about progressive things with my partner so that she takes credit and develops more of that strength, and then I get the benefit of being in a relationship with someone who's using that strength to a greater degree.
And it has to be a happier environment for your partner. Thus, you get the spillover. I mean, it's a win-win, a great opportunity. And also, you tell us that couples need to continue to date. What do you mean by that?
Well, if you go see any marriage counselor in the world, the number one advice you're probably going to hear is keep dating. But I want to expand upon that thought a little bit further, because I don't just mean the activity of dating. Dating is a very difficult thing to do when life gets hectic. We have children, jobs, careers, school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I mean is when you start dating your partner in the very beginning of your relationship, there was a mindset at play. You were very interested in putting your best foot forward and really impressing and creating happiness for your partner. And your partner was equally interested in showing you their very best and being noticed and recognized for that effort. And that's dating. That's the mentality of dating. I'm attempting to win you over. I'm attempting to cause you to fall in love with me. I'm attempting to have you, to encourage you to have positive feelings about me. And that's the mentality we need to carry with us throughout the length of our relationship, so we never lose how important it is to do activities and actions that bring about positive feelings from your partner.
Powerful, very powerful. So with that mindset that we're dating, that's really more important than saying we're going to the movie every Friday, or
right.
we're going out to dinner every Saturday. Even if you stay home and get on the sofa with the throw over you and have popcorn and watch a movie, it's that mentality, it's the thought process of dating.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's that thinking that my job is to do things that bring about smiles on your face. And I can never let that become stagnant. Whether or not we have the time to go to the movies every weekend or not anymore is totally irrelevant. My job continues to be to do things that bring about smiles on your face.
And they always say actions speak louder than words. And when you're dating like that, certainly everything that you do is communicating the idea of, hey, I want you to like me more. And,
that's right.
And I want to be with you, and I want you to know that I want to be with you, and I want you to be happy. And as we're together, as the years go by, sometimes, I think we do drop the ball in that communication through actions and mentality that you're talking about. It's an excellent point.
A great point, very powerful, because usually when people talk about we have to communicate or we're going to communicate, just as Elliott said, they say we have to talk. And all guys know, beware when a woman says, honey, we have to talk.
Right.
He's close to the doghouse, if not in the doghouse.
Already in there, yeah.
And Elliott, you're bringing out such a great point. Keep that feeling of dating. Would you ever date someone and bring up the problem of, I really don't like, and fill in the blanks? No. You'll give them a pass, typically on that dating scene, so that they could correct it or change it, or you might bring it up later on, but that's certainly not going to be one of the first things you say in the beginning of a dating scene, even the beginning of a date in the evening, because you want that to be pleasant. You're looking for a relaxing, happy time, just talking about dating.
Keep it positive, what you do like.
Keep it positive.
Yeah, not what you don't like. Yeah.
Right. And you're saying we should get together with our partners and give them this feedback.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Give them the positive feedback about what they're doing that is working. And most marriage material is about how to avoid divorce and about how to avoid problems, which always left me thinking, Well, if we get really good at knowing how to avoid divorce and avoid problem, that doesn't necessarily teach us how to fall in love and how to engender happiness. Like, we have to get back to that process in order to experience happiness.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's a mind shift because people are, and what happens too, Elliott, as you know, is that people will say and think to themselves, oh, we have a problem. Then they go out and they tell their coworkers or someone else, we have a problem. And they start saying that over and over to reinforce it in their mind without letting it go or really getting to the partner to talk about good things.
That's right. I think more than a mind shift, it's a perception shift. Okay. Language is reality. So if we change what we talk about, then we change what we notice. And if we change what we notice, then we change what we experience. And if we change what we experience, we change everything. The great thing about the human mind, as complicated as our minds are, and as brilliant as we are walking around with these big old brains and these big old IQs, we can only hold one thought at a time. So if I use language to ensure that the thought in my head is positive, then I'm likely to have a positive experience in this life. And, think about it. This world has been here for thousands and billions of years or whatever. I only have, as a male, about 77 years on this planet. And I intend to use every second of it smiling and causing people around me that I love to smile. So if I can use language to do that, that's the weapon I've been given. So let's do it.
Now, that's a great goal, to keep people smiling, yourself included, and those around you, and it moves forward. That is so great. And I like your idea of, you say your goal is to make your partner smile.
Yes.
That is powerful. That is powerful.
I think that is my job. When I agreed to become her husband, I was agreeing to do as many things as I could for as long as she would allow me to make her smile. And sometimes that means doing really small things, like she says I'm in the mood for chocolate and coming home with chocolate, and other times that means doing really big things and buying her glistening, shiny, expensive things. But I need to make her smile.
Well, Elliott, we're certainly going to make you a poster man for couples.
But I have to ask you, Eric, I know that, everybody's different. People are all different. And you are obviously very eloquent, very charming, and
smart,
and very intelligent, and very focused on the idea that you want to not only please your mate, but make her very aware that you want to please her, and you do that through communication. Now, some other people, men and women on the planet, are not so eloquent and maybe not so focused on that communication aspect of their relationship. When you run into those types of people, what do you suggest to them? How can they accomplish the same thing without long conversations and sharing my feelings, which is really hard for some guys? Honey, I want to sit down and share my feelings with you. It sounds almost cliche. So what do you suggest to those people?
What phrases can they use?
That is such a great question. And what I do is something called solution-focused brief therapy, and it was born in the true marriage and family therapy movement that occurred 50, 60 years ago. And one of the rules of communication is you cannot not communicate. So whether or not you are articulate with words or you're comfortable expressing your feelings is kind of irrelevant. You just have to use your way of expressing to your partner, I see the good in you, and I enjoy it. And I would like you to... The happiest memories of my life was there are two people in my life that are very, very close to me. I consider them both my best friends. One of them is from my childhood in Massachusetts. The other one is from my college years here in Texas. And they were in my wedding. And at the wedding, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. At the wedding, one of them's name's Kyle, the other one's name's Matt. At the wedding, they walked past each other, two people that had never met, linked by me. They walked past each other and given each other a high five. That was their acknowledgement of the good in each other. So they didn't say a word. And by the way, both of these people are not terribly comfortable expressing their feelings, but they did it. So you have to use phrases, body language, anything that communicates to your partner, I see the good in you. Now, I enjoy talking. I mean, I'm a counselor, I'm a lecturer, I'm an author, so obviously I'm comfortable with words. But I recognize not everybody is. You can come home, and if you give your wife a hug before you start complaining about traffic, that's going to communicate to her that what's good about you is more important than what's bad about this world. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
That's absolutely perfect, actually, and I think it's about focus. It's about your priority. What's important to you, and if that idea of making her feel pleased and appreciated is what's important, then that's going to come through in your actions. And we definitely want to share some more thoughts on this. And we are, if you've just joined us, we're having a conversation with Elliott Connie, the very articulate, intelligent, and wonderful communicator and author of Solution Focused Marriage. We'll be right back in 1 minute.
Welcome back. This is Positive Impact Now, and we have the great husband and the great guest, Elliott Connie, talking about his book, Solution Focused Marriage. We don't focus on the problems anymore. We're going to flip this around and talk about the strengths, the successes, the good times, and really make ourselves and our partner feel good on a daily basis. Did I sum that up okay, Elliott?
I think you summed it up great.
But right now we're going to talk about the function of a partnership.
Right.
Tell us why a partnership is important in a relationship.
Because we're building an entity. When two people agree to co-construct this relationship, then it's really important to take inventory on what you do well and how do I mix it with what I do well so that the entity, in this case the relationship, blossoms in a very effective way. A couple of weeks ago I was giving a lecture in Toronto, and while I was flying back, I got an opportunity to watch the movie about Steve Jobs. Now, when I was watching that movie, it was very clear to me that Wozniak had a very specific set of skills, and Jobs had a very different but equally specific set of skills. But when they mixed them together, you bring what you bring to the table, and I bring what I bring to the table, and let's see what magic happens. The magic that happened was Apple, the biggest company in our world. And in a relationship, it befuddles me sometimes at how often we try to manipulate our partners in becoming more like us. But the very thing I need is for you to bring your attribution into this relationship and mix it with mine. So the benefit will be the entity, in this case, the relationship.
Wow, that's another powerful point, Elliott, because when you say that perhaps one partner is busy trying to make the other partner a mirror image of themselves, more like them. And
right.
It's like, I've done it this way, I do it this way, why won't you do it this way?
That's right.
So that's powerful. We should not be striving to make them like us as much as supporting them in being who they are.
I think that's exactly right. And understanding that it's almost like a tent. Like, you lean your stick up and I'll lean mine up and we can build this together. Instead of, like, I don't want to marry me, so I shouldn't be trying to find someone exactly like me. I should try to find somebody that's been built to hold me up. That's the whole point of a relationship. I should go find somebody that has lived their life in such a way that they have the type of skills that would hold me up, that would support me. And I shouldn't try to change them because that would be going against the very reason why I'm attracted to them in the first place.
The word that comes to mind is synergy, that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But it's got to be focused on the relationship and not just the one person or the other, or even both persons. It's the relationship as a separate entity, maybe, if you're trying to grow that. Or is that really outside of... Well, your reference to the tent made me think of that. So
right. Well, it's just, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. Like, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and we never should lose sight of that. What we're building is a relationship. It doesn't matter who pays the bills. It doesn't matter who does the child care. It doesn't matter who does the cooking or the cleaning or whatever. What matters is that we're all equally contributing using our skills to do so. It would be wrong if I'm worse with money than my partner, but because of my ego, I think I'm the man, I should pay bills. That would be wrong. That's not me allowing my wife's skills to flourish in our relationship. That's what I'm talking about when I say partnership.
Looking at each other's strengths and trying to use those strengths to make the relationship go forward.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's not about who always is in charge of one thing, and the other person has to sit there when they know they could do it as well or better.
That's right.
But that was sort of common. We call it old school, where the man worked, the man took care of all the bills. The wife knew very little about what was going on financially with that house.
Well, that's right. And for example, like in my relationship, my wife is much better than me with money. My ego should not get in the way and cause me to say stupid things like, since I'm the man, I should be in charge of the money. No, since she's better with money, she should be in charge of the money. And that's the way it should work, because the relationship ends up benefiting. And I should never lose sight of what we're building, and that is a relationship.
I imagine, Elliott, that this area of partnership is an area where you really have to use effective communication. Because,
sure.
Yeah.
The only way we can take inventory of what we're both good at is to talk about them. It doesn't happen without communication. And communication to whatever level you're comfortable with. But we have to talk about our talent. And we typically don't. We are so wired to talk about our flaws. Tomorrow morning, when everybody who's listening to this show wakes up, turn on the news and see how often they talk about the beautiful, wonderful talents of this world. They don't. They talk about the flaws of the world. That's the way our lives are built for some crazy reason. And that doesn't work. It's not effective. We have to be able to talk about, notice, and perceive talent.
It's hard to play to your strengths or to play to your partner's strengths if you never discuss what those strengths are.
I could not agree more. Absolutely true.
And we're back to that communication where you really have to communicate. And I like the idea that you said some people who are not comfortable speaking, or as Mike said, expressing their feelings, they have to use other means. So
sure.
If they're working in the partnership, what are some of the things you've seen guys use, some of the techniques they've used to communicate more effectively?
Well, it's any positive show of endearment that the person receiving that message knows you're giving that to me because you noticed something good about me. So if you come home and your partner has prepared a meal for you that you enjoy, walking over to that person and giving them a hug would make that person know that I caused that hug to happen. Happiness is a very funny thing because we have to tell on it, right? We have to let people know why it's there. If I walk into a room and my wife is smiling, unless she somehow lets me know that I created the smile, I won't know that. I might think she got a funny text message, email, watching a funny TV show, whatever. So when people come in the house and they're happy with something their partner did, they simply just have to say, the happiness I'm experiencing is because of the thing you did. Now, we can do that via a hug, a hand hold, a kiss, but we accidentally come home and we say things like, you won't believe what my boss did, forgetting that what your partner did. What your partner did is while you were at work dealing with your boss, your partner was contributing to your life. And we have to come into the house and say, before I talk to you about my crazy boss, I want to acknowledge you for the stuff that you did while I was dealing with my crazy boss. Then we'll talk about that stuff later. But we don't. We have a tendency sometimes to overlook that. So it literally could be anything, just some way of saying, there is a smile on my face, and you put it there.
You know, I'm just thinking, Elliott, one thing that, say, guys who don't like to be extremely verbal like to do, or could do, is to buy cards, the greeting cards, that say, I thought about you today, I miss you today, whatever. But they could use the cards, and like you said, a hug or a kiss is always demonstrative. And in addition, maybe we have a couple here that tell us that they like to pray together each night. And
absolutely.
Yeah, they've been married over 20-something years, and they just told us that's what they do every night. They said even when they've had the argument, looking at the problem, not knowing what you told us, Elliott, but, trying to resolve it before they get in that bed. They spend time on their knees praying together.
That's right. And by the way, I love hearing things like that. I think couples who have habits like that, because it's really what we're talking about here, is having habits that keep your relationship successful, and when problems pop up, the relationship stays balanced, so the problem does not become the new negative habit. I have a friend of mine who's been married 50 years, and if you ask him what's the secret to his happy marriage, he says, I take my wife dancing every week. So for every relationship, it's different. The way you communicate to your partner that you are doing things well and making you want to continue to participate in this relationship in a happy way, it's different for everybody. I'm just saying it has to be in place. You have to have some sort of way to communicate about it, and when you do that, it works.
It has to be incidentally. So
you are absolutely right. Problems make us talk, and happiness doesn't. So there has to be purposeful intent to talk about happiness, because problem talk will happen accidentally.
And it will come, but we're talking about changing our entire focus to solutions, to finding ways that we're going to make this relationship work. We started off talking about simple habits. These are what I call beautiful habits.
Well, thank you.
Beautiful.
That'll be the title of my next book. How about that?
Okay. I receive it. Because really, if we give on that level of helping people see their strengths, not only are they happy, but we're happy. Just the act of giving, saying you are so good in that area.
It's a very positive thing, and we believe very clearly that your book is going to have a positive impact on our listeners and anyone who reads it, and certainly your ideas have had a positive impact on us. And so we thank you very much, Mr. Elliott Connie, for joining us today on the new Positive Impact Now show. Elliott Connie, ladies and gentlemen, lecturer and author of Solution-Focused Marriage. And we look forward to having you back on our show at some point in the future.
Very soon. We need you.
Really
We're going to turn this around. Thank you so much. We appreciate your being with us today.
We're going to take just a quick 30-second break and then come back. Thank you.
Back to Positive Impact Now. We thank you so much for joining us. Remember, go to that Facebook. It's some good information. We have books to give. We have all kind of information to give you. So, and Juice Plus is on that website. You're going to love it. All right? This is Judge Angel, Mike Faust, our
absolutely.
What is our
what did you want to say?
I'm trying to say, what is our website address?
The website address is www.positiveimpactnow.com. And we invite you all to come and join us there and see some of the information that we have available on that website. We've got some very interesting things coming up in the short future. Some of you may remember our previous guest, John Chimera, who has a great software program, the QID program, that will identify all of your social networking and business networking links very quickly and easily from a scan on your phone. We're going to be giving away a number of those. And so we're going to be putting together a sort of contest of sorts to give some of those away. They're $1,000 values, so we do want our listeners to pay attention for upcoming information on that. And we'll also have information on our website about our guest today, our expert witness, Elliott Connie, and a link to where you can purchase his book. Thank you again for joining us. We want to thank the staff and crew for their help, and we look forward to you joining us again. This is Mike Faust and Judge Angel.
And with Positive Impact Now, we are so grateful to all of you for all that you do.
Thank you for joining us, and please come back next week.
See you then.